Hello everybody. Now the next stage in our project is to take the content from our website and create a print publication from it. Now as you can see, I've got my website open at the moment, and what I need to do is to go into GitHub where all of my assets are stored and essentially clone all of that content onto my local computer. Now you will have already got hopefully a copy of Atom from the work that we did before, so that's one of the things that you're going to be having to use. So let's get to it then. Okay, I'm going to now sign in to GitHub, and then once into my GitHub account, you're going to see your repository that you've created for your website. I've got several here that I've been using for various experimental purposes, but this is the one that I'm working on at the moment. So the website, there we are, that's the website, big text, and this is my repository. So this is all of the assets. These are all the assets that are being used in the website, which is being delivered from Netlify. So what we actually need to do is to take a copy of this, or what is called we need to clone all of these assets down onto the local computer. So we do that by going into this little button here where it says code, and then you'll find a link. So all you really need is this link here, which is a sort of a link to the repository itself, and I just need to take a copy of that. That little icon there is what actually does that job for us. So we just click on that, and then what we do is to go into Atom. So Atom is firing up now. Let's just bring that onto the center of the screen and give it a bit more space. And after a few moments, you should find that down at the bottom of the screen, you have this control bar. Now, I should say that you've probably already done this before because of the work that we did before on working on the HTML part of this project. And so you may already have a copy of your repository. If you do have a copy of a repository, you just got to make sure that you've updated it. And the way that we do that is to go down to the bottom right here, and you'll see something called pull, and you can pull a copy to update your local copy. So I haven't got that at all at the moment, so I'm going to click on my clone repository and then paste into there the copy of, or the reference to my GitHub repository that I've just taken from github.com. That's now going to put this repository into a folder. You don't necessarily have to change that, but it's going into my users folder under GitHub. Let's just try that. Okay, so we're cloning it now. You can see it's just going through the routine now, and it will directly open in Atom straight away. Okay, so that's taken a copy of that. I'll just show you what that actually means in the Finder. So if we go to the Finder and go to our Home folder, you'll see that you've got a folder called GitHub within the Home folder, and inside that there is the folder with all of the assets. So what you're seeing here is exactly what we're seeing over here on the left-hand side in the project. So obviously this is of interest, but not really necessarily anything that you need to edit at the moment. But what we actually need, as I say, from an updated copy of this, if you've already got it, we need to go into our posts folder, and you'll see within the post folder I've only got 4 posts at the moment for the purposes of this demonstration, but you will have hopefully more than that, 6, maybe 8, maybe even 10. We want you to get 10 by the end of the semester, but we only need 1 for the moment just to go through this process. So I'm just going to select one. This is my post called Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. And this is the post. I mean, you may not have seen it in this form before. This is actually the markdown code, if you like, that's being used, but you're using your CMS, so you're not necessarily writing it in markdown exactly. You're just using the interface in the content management system. Okay, but what we actually need to do is we need to convert this into a form that can be placed into InDesign. Now, how do we go about that? Well, we go up to the menu called Packages, look for something called the Command Palette, and toggle that on. Now in the Command Palette, you just need to start typing convert. And as soon as you type in convert, you'll see then you've got these options. It's actually, in fact, called Pandoc convert, but you don't need to worry about that. The point is by typing convert, it's automatically found what we're looking for. You just need to scroll down and find Pandoc convert docx. Now docx is the Microsoft Word format. So we're going to click on that. Then it puts that up in that little box here. You just need to press on your keyboard Enter. Now, all being well, you should see a green message over on the right hand side, green for go, of course. And over here on the left hand side, underneath or in that post folder, you should see a file, blah, 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 .docx. Now, I'll click on it, but of course it won't mean anything to you. If I click on that, you can see it's meaningless, it's gobbledygook, it's just, you know, code that nobody actually understands. But the point is, it's there now. We don't need to do anything in here. What we need to do now is to fire up our InDesign template for the internal pages of our publication. So the next part of this process is to take this content that we've converted from our blog post. We converted that into a Microsoft Word document. We're going to place that into InDesign. Now, in InDesign, we want to use the template that's been given to you. You will find this template on Moodle to download that template. I've got a copy of it here. It's called publication.indt. And all you need to do is to double click on that template file and it will open InDesign for you. I've already got InDesign open, so it happened very quickly. But if you haven't got it open, then obviously there's going to be a little bit of a delay there. I'm just going to actually shrink this down a little bit so I can actually see a bit more of the content. The template literally has one page. And as you'll see in a moment, when we place the content, we will automatically grow the pages. Okay, so what we need to do then is to go to File and Place, and we're now looking for our file that we previously created. Now, just to remind you, that will be inside your GitHub folder, inside your repository name. I've got mine named Big Text, as you can see, and inside the Posts folder, then you're going to see one file at the moment that we can place, which is called the name of the actual post and then docx at the end of it. So I'm selecting that. However, there is one thing that I want to point out to you. Maybe you are seeing something a little bit more like this, but we do need to click on Options. We also need to make sure that we've ticked Show Import Options. We need that, it's absolutely essential. So make sure you've got that ticked on, and then select your document that you're going to place. You should then come up with this dialog box here. There's nothing particularly that you need to change, but you will want to make sure, whatever happens, that down at the bottom here, you are using the InDesign style definition, not the one that's coming from Microsoft Word. Now, the important thing about this is that you see what we actually have in the template. We have already got paragraph styles and character styles with the same names as those that are appropriate for the posts that you've brought from your blog. So we're trying to make sure that those two things marry up together. So you want to make sure that you use the style definition that is already existing. This is important for this first one, but it's even more important when you actually then change the styles and start to bring in the other posts for your publication. So I'm going to click OK now. Now you'll see this little cursor, the impression of the cursor is that it's got some text on it. Again, another very important thing to remember. So if you've already clicked, you've spoilt it, so undo it, please, because what we need to do now is to hit the Shift key on the keyboard. The Shift key, I'm looking down for it just to make sure I hit the right one. Press the Shift key, you will then see a little squiggly arrow up here. you're going to click in the top left-hand corner of that text box. Let go with the mouse, click and let go with the mouse. And what we actually do now have are more pages. It's automatically created more pages. Don't worry, this looks rubbish. I appreciate that. That's because all of the images have come in their raw sized state. They're not configured to work within the text at the moment. That's obviously one of the first things that we have to do. Now, I just wanted to point out to you a number of things initially, although from this point on, you've obviously got quite a lot of work to do to make decisions about how you want this to look. At the moment, of course, it's very, very standard, it's just flowed in exactly as you see. First thing that we might want to do is to get rid of the date, because you don't need the date. That comes in automatically, and we don't need that, so you can just simply delete that. What we can now have a look at, though, if you go over to your styles, paragraph styles, you'll see that we have got paragraph styles that have come in automatically or there automatically. So, for example, by putting my cursor into this paragraph, you'll see how it's first paragraph. Let me just bring that over a little bit nearer so you can see what's happening. The second paragraph is simply body text. And body text. So these are the styles that you've got. These are the styles that you need to change. The one at the very top is simply the title. And then as we go through here, you'll see we've got, for example, a heading level 2 for the subheadings. These are the paragraph styles. Just going to bring that back into there. There's also something else which is really important, and that is the object styles. Now, you won't necessarily see the object styles in your panel over on the right hand side, so we have to go to Window, Styles, Object Styles. Okay, let's bring that a bit further over here. Now, object styles are already available to us. If I click this first image here and go to object styles, if I then click on image, which is an object style which is already in the template, you'll see that what it does is it centers the image. But then, of course, and again, this is a very important thing that you must learn about, is when you're resizing images, you must make sure that you keep them in the right proportion. So we do that by pressing Shift and Command and then drag. Shift, Command, drag will keep it in the right proportion, so because you don't want to distort it. Now, how you actually want these images to appear is entirely up to you, but just see how they are also anchored. You can just see the little anchor sign here and the dotted line. So these are the things that we need to work through. So I'm going to really come on to this a little bit later, but just to begin with, then I would suggest that you select each image, make sure it's using the image object style, and then resize it. Resize it just to make sure it's not flowing outside the text, and at least we can see what we've actually got here before we start reorganizing the content for our print publication. So I'm just doing this fairly quickly just to show you that we can then at least get a sense of what the content is that we have available to us. Okay, so there's the basics of the content, and then after that, of course, we need to start thinking about the styles, the typography, the way that the images relate to the text, what kind of spacing you want, whether you want columns, whether you want it just like this. So what we're doing at the moment, just to emphasize, is we're focusing on one article post so that you can get your style set for that, and then we can bring in the other posts.